Welcome to Solutions from the Yard, a candid discussion about life behind bars and its effect on society. We'll discuss reintegration or reentry back into the community post-incarceration. Your host for this episode is Charles Hopkins.
Welcome to Solutions from the Yard. I'm Charles Hopkins.
And I'm Michael Dickerson-El.
And I'm Dietrich Trent.
Thank you. We're going to pick up where we left off at with the roadblocks to reentry. And just to give you an overview, we set up the road. We seen roadblocks as it come to housing. As we observed that, one, it's expensive. Two, we can't afford it. Three, we don't have jobs. We made observation about the job where oftentimes we're being discriminated against, or we're not given living wages, so therefore we're unable to afford quality housing. We also dealt with mental health, and then we was dealing with mental health, which is the essential part of getting the housing and the essential part of getting the job. We seen that in the mental health department, that oftentimes men and women coming home had problems with their mental health. So today we're gonna delve right back into it, and we're looking at the roadblocks as it relates to physical health. And here, when we say roadblocks that relate to physical health, I'm gonna give you an example. When I was locked up, I was in good shape. I worked out all the time. That's what I did. Most times I was known for like either running in the yard or working out, and so I know I'm in good physical shape. I got a knee replacement. Worked out, to get the kinks out of that. And when I got out, the first thing I did was say, I'm going to get a physical, complete physical. So the first thing they told me, I had hepatitis C. I said, what? I ain't doing no risky behavior. I ain't got no tests, and I ain't messing with no men. So I ain't doing all the risky things that go on with that. I'm not doing, okay? Then they told me that they had gave me some glasses, like Mr. Magoo glasses, and I turned around when I got my eyes examined. The man say, I don't need glasses. I just need reading glasses. So now you give me some glasses that's gonna make me blind, right? Then when I get out, the optometrist said, nah, man, all you need is some reading glasses. So I got the reading glasses. Then I had my dental. The place that they gave me while I was locked up, it was some place that I could have got from Trick or Treat when you go to the store and get some plates. And you want to look like Dracula, I could have got some of them and filed them down and had some plates. That's how bad the place was that they gave me. So we talking about physical. Dietrich, speak on that.
Man, I want to see them teeth. So, but yes, one of the biggest fears when it comes to our physical health, especially returning home from prison, is not really knowing what ailments that we didn't had
right contracted
while we were in prison. Thank you. Contracted while we was in prison, or anything of that nature, because you don't really get a true bill of health when it comes to physicals in prison.
That's right. Speak on that.
You don't, because in prison we dealing with a lot of physicians that's either through malpractice, they come there look for work, because they can't work in society no longer, or their license been suspended, or we dealing with students using us as guinea pigs how to learn to do things, right? So this is true. And I know, and one of my biggest fears was, I thought, man, I don't want to pass form as soon as I come home, because you hear that a lot. A brother went home, and or brother or sister went home, and they passed form like that, died in their sleep. Like, what did he have? He young, he worked out every day. Man, he played basketball. We see it, right? And because in prison you really don't know what you have or what you develop over so many years being in that concentration camp.
That's right.
And now coming home and coming out here and as an elder man, and you coming out and finding out that you have this problem, that problem, you like, hold on, how long I had this?
Right.
How long I had this?
Right.
So, and that right there puts stress on your body. You be like, oh my goodness, what is going on, right? Why this wasn't ever detected while I was in prison?
That's right.
Because they don't have the proper resources in prison to detect some of the ailments, and some of the hospitals that's connected through like a strategic partner with some of these prisons only want blood, and they only want to do surgeries,
Right.
because they get the big money from it, right? So if you ain't coming in broken up or bleeding, we don't want to deal with you,
That's right.
right? And the thing right now, I'm dealing with something right now when it comes to my dental work. I had a tooth that grew. I had 2 teeth. They're Lorton. I just got down Lorton. I was like, man, my tooth hurt, man. You know, so I knew I needed it, wanted to get it distracted, but not knowing that the other tooth, from not being negligent from Norton, not even seeing me, never taking me over there to the dental, because I was behind the wall, so I got to get chained up and all that to go over there. So my tooth ended up growing up inside of my gums into my sinus. Now I got to deal with this day. I got to come out my pocket and pay this, right? Right, which I'm going to pay. But this is something that could have been done and taken care of if I'd have had the right resources and the right tools and the medical staff there where I was at. But I was dealing with a bunch of guinea pig practitioners when it comes to medical. They didn't know what they was doing, and I definitely didn't know what they was doing to me, right? So this is the life of being in prison, and when you come home, brothers and sisters need to get a real true bill of health and find out you really need to find out, because a lot of brothers and sisters are passing form within years of coming home.
Mike, talk about roadblock when it comes to physical health for men and women coming out.
Oh man, that's shoot. I know that roadblock personally.
We're speaking on.
Cause when I was in prison, like Dietrich said, they didn't have no test to show that, my arteries was blocked, and I was home like maybe it wasn't even 6 months when I came. I wound up having a heart attack, and I thought I was eating healthy and all that type stuff in prison, and I had a heart attack. It wasn't due to I had a bad heart. I had a strong heart. I was working out every day and all that. It was just due to a blocked artery from the food that I was eating. Yeah. And and we eating these packs of mackerel.
Top of the line garbage.
Yeah, it's basically top of the line garbage. Yeah. And we eating this stuff and we cooking this stuff in the microwaves, and that the soybean oil that's in the mackerel packs, it started to crystallize in my arteries. And see, that's how I wind up having a major heart attack. And also, just like Dietrich said, man, the medical attention is very poor, and you can be walking around with death and don't even know it. And see, that's the thing that it was a blessing that I wind up, when I did have the heart attack, it was a blessing that I was in the shape that I was in, because when I had the heart attack, I had to walk all the way back home. And when I described to, the doctors and, the paramedics how far that I had to walk to get back home, all of them was looking surprised, because they was like, you should have dropped dead before you even got home. Right. But it was like I said, it was a blessing that I was in the shape that I was in, because my heart was so strong. Even after the heart attack, usually they say that a person's heart is supposed to be at 30%. Right. Mine was still at 60%. Right. So, like I said, it was a blessing that I was in the shape that I was in, because I would have died. And, and I remember, I think you might have heard about that instance in the Maryland system, when they had one of the doctors in the Maryland system, and come to find out, this dude was an ex-veterinarian. Yeah, I remember. And and they had a real big article about that, man. And I actually saw that with my own eyes. I'm like, they got this guy working in a hospital as a doctor, and he was a veterinarian.
And you know what? And in the prison system, I remember that when you went to the medical, what they call sick call, and when you got down to the window, from one end, like say all about 50 feet, from one end to the other, all you seen was Maylocks, because everybody had some kind of stomach disorder. Yes. But they told everybody that had the stomach disorder, they told them that they had gas, or they had something like that. So they was giving them Maylocks, and come to find out, I know a lot of brothers that died from having stomach cancer. And died from, and I remember one individual in particular, when they got off admin SEG, and I asked one of the Muslim brothers, I asked him where he's at. He said, well, I said, where's Samad at? See, Samad over the Cut Hospital, well, he had bleeding ulcers. I'm saying, bleeding ulcers? How you get bleeding ulcers like in 2 weeks? Because I'm seeing him and he in good shape, but all that time we was in Supermax, he was complaining about his stomach, and when he was going there, they would tell him, give him the medicine, say, look, oh, now you just got gas, you just got a stomach disorder, right? But let's talk about, so we know that physical health, the roadblock is that the inadequate medical treatment that most men and women get while they're inside, right? And so a solution for that would be when you get out, get a complete physical. Let's talk about the roadblock, how the roadblock to background checks play out in terms of a person getting employed and staying employed. Mike?
Well, those background checks, they be consisting of, your criminal history basically. And I have a few clients, man, that hit a few roadblocks when it comes to the background checks. It depends on, like, if you got a murder,
Right.
all these different charges, drug charges, all of them play a factor in what type of employment you're gonna get. Because if you got anything consistent of an armed robbery, they don't want you around no type of money.
Right.
So that's a roadblock. And even though you done served your time, still, why can't I be in a position where as though I'm a cashier or something like that? It's just straight discrimination.
Right.
Because a person without an armed robbery can still steal your money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then also, you have, the brothers and sisters that's under the sex offense laws and stuff like that. That's a real that go back into housing, because a lot of places won't even allow them to stay in their apartments and stuff like that. And they can't be in certain areas. So that's, that background check on them is very harsh, because, we have that problem, working by me working with a reentry organization. We didn't came across that problem on numerous occasions. Right. They don't get accepted in certain vocational trainings and stuff like that.
Did you talk about the roadblock as it relates to parole and probation? Because you're off paper now, right?
Yes, thank God.
And talk, because I remember when you got off. I remember when you got off paper. You did backwards flips all the way down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, man, you know that.
And so we know that you was happy about that. But talk about the roadblock when it comes to parole and probation.
Parole and probation is so tricky, because everybody cases analysis is different, right? And the thing about it, you could be a low this week, and they could do a whole new triage and say you're a high next week.
That's right.
Right? And you be like, huh? So I was 2 weeks away saying that they put my paperwork in to say I'm about to be off all this supervision, and then you saying start back over. But the thing about parole and probation, it ain't nothing but a form of incarceration again, right? It's all about show me who you are. They don't care about what circumstances that you're facing while you're in society. They don't care about none of that. It's all about do what we say, or do what we tell you to do, right? And the thing about, they put these brothers, and I see right now a lot of brothers are coming home. Some brothers are coming home. They gotta register as gun offenders, right? Then you have some brothers that have the same charges that don't have to register as gun offenders.
Right.
You have some brothers brothers and sisters that's on leg monitors, and then you have some of them that don't have leg monitors.
Right.
It's the parole and probation thing is all so jumbled up and mixed up. They don't even know what they're doing, because they'll tell you some of the actual officers that works in for the parole and probation office, they'll tell you, man, I don't know what's going on, right? And the thing about it is some of the barriers that people face when it comes to this is, like, I remember, I'm going to tell you one instance, good thing I had good people around me. I was at my employment, right? She wasn't even my probation officer. This lady wasn't even my probation officer. She just thought I was on parole, right? but she seen me working in the community. She found out I was on parole. She started calling up to my job and telling me I need to come down there. I'm like, what? Man, listen. So I knew something was, this is the birds that people face when it comes to, I knew that, I said, what is she doing? Why is she keep? So I complained to my supervisor and I said, hey, look, this lady ain't my parole officer or my parole. I don't know why she keep telling me I need to come down there. I said, man, this don't look right. And they said, yeah, because you here at work. I said, y'all need to explain this to her. So they took it out of my hand and they seen how it was affecting me, right? It was affecting my work. Cause I started getting nervous, like, man, what are they about to do? What's going on? Right? So she had to straighten, my supervisor straightened the lady out and had to tell her, listen here, he has a job. Don't you want to keep him out of prison? Yes. Why is you keep calling you? This where he at? Come to his job. Have you ever came here to his job and visit him and see what kind of work he doing and see what kind of man? No, we just need him down here. Look, he's ridiculous. They give you ridiculous tasks to complete, right? Knowing it's going to be a burden to you eventually, right? The whole thing about it is to keep you under supervision and not release you from supervision, right? Keep you unemployed so we could put the box on you now. Right. Now the new thing is, if you don't have a job now, you got to wear an ankle monitor.
Yeah, that's
It's all, like I always tell people, this ain't nothing but a money grab, which is always, because to have an ankle monitor on, it costs, right? It costs. So what company y'all renting us out to?
Yeah.
Right? What company that you sell? And this is all part of the 14th Amendment. I always tell people, this, you always a slave. Once you put, the 13th Amendment, was you always a slave. Once you test that penal system, that you're gonna always be a slave. Once a slave, always a slave. And this is some of the things that they do. You a free man, but you gotta wear an ankle monitor. I done did everything. What am I? Why ankle monitor? Because I ain't got a job. The background check said I can't work there no more. Right? Get to the background check, they hire you, knowing that they did a background check on you. But we need manpower right now. And soon as this job is completed, hey, John's son need a job. Oh yeah, let's get rid of Michael.
And on that roadblock, I remember to parole and probation. I remember that the one of the group I was in, the young ladies was on monitors, and like in the middle of the class, they would get off the screen and answer the phone. Yeah. And mind you, you know I'm in Zoom. You know where I'm at. Yeah. You know what I'm doing. You can log on Zoom and see me on Zoom. But this is what you do. You wait till I'm in the middle of a class. Then you say, you call the phone. I got to answer the phone. Then I come back. Now, the next day, you do it again, the same thing. And the next day, and the next day. And then you stop doing that. Then you wake me up in the middle of the night. But let's talk about so we know the roadblock to parole and probation is insensitive, oftentimes insensitive parole agencies. And we're not condemning the entire parole and probation institution. We're saying that the lack of sensitivity
some of the procedures and
some of the policies create more problems than they do solutions. Let's talk about the background check as it comes to like education. I mean, as far as the roadblock in education, we recognize that a lot of men and women go in prison. I was one of them myself, go in prison illiterate. I was functionally illiterate when I went in. And a lot of times while they're in prison, they don't get an education, and they come out and they have no education. So when they get out, navigating the society, which is very literate, you have to remember your pen. You have everything is set up where though you have to interact with something that involves education. Mike, talk about from your knowledge the roadblocks as it comes to education and in terms of the men and women that's confronted with like the lack of education or not being afforded the educational opportunity or not taking advantage of the educational opportunities in the institution.
Well, I'm trying to think of the year, but I know when I was incarcerated, from 96 to 2020, it was at one point you had to get your GED.
That's right. If
you didn't have a high school diploma, they forced you to go to school at one time. Now, I can't remember, I can't put exact date on it, but I remember it was a year they started. You remember that year?
So at first it was, you only needed 240 hours, 240 or 80 hours to be required, complete of any education requirements.
Right.
Then it became when too many bus loads of DC prisoners came flooding. It was too many. They couldn't, so they needed to have us the places to be at because there was too many people running around in their prison and too many young adults. See, at first, a lot of younger people wasn't coming to no penitentiaries, remember?
Right.
So now it became, no, we need to count y'all in class because now we need more money. So it started in the late 2000s. It started like the early 2000s that you had to be required to get a high school diploma or you're going to be,
right.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where as though they stopped it. So I was saying to myself, like, how can you enforce something, then turn around and stop it? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even mandatory. At one time in the BOP, you had to work. You know what I'm saying? They used to do them counts. You couldn't be laying in the bed. You had to have your bed made. You couldn't be laying in the bed. You had to be doing something. You had to be out the unit unless you was working in the unit.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it was a lot of things that they did especially when we started, the 007 started flooding the system.
Right.
It was a lot of changes. All of a sudden, you ain't got to have a job no more. You don't have to get your GED no more. Yeah. So these things really play. It was almost like you do it to yourself. Because, the average person don't want to come to work. I mean, come to jail and go to work for no, 15 cents, 20 cents an hour. Or, they don't feel like getting their GED. So you basically, you fed them, you told them choose your poison, what you want to do. And the average person was like, man, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to work. So that form of education really kind of like went down the drain because the BOP let their foot up off of them, and then once they come home, you stuck in the situation where as though you don't have a GED, basically you became lazy in prison. You don't want to do nothing. And then when I suggest, hey man, you need to go ahead and get your GED, you don't want to do it because you've been stuck into that sloth type of mode where as though you don't want to do nothing. And it's sad because now you're going to subject yourself to digging a ditch or doing something that's minimum wage that you can't. The cost of living is too high. So that's a real big roadblock. But a lot of that started in the BOP. Yeah.
Dietrich, you went in when you was at a young age. Talk about and you educated, like you say.
Self-taught.
Yeah, so talk about education and roadblocks as it relates to education.
Well, I could start as back as when Lawton. When, Lawton made it mandatory because we was underage, right? And we used to get called out our cells early in the morning unless you was on some type of special handling or you was on disciplinary. If you was on disciplinary, you still had a work booklet that was coming to your cell. We had teachers that was coming down that cared, right? I'm going to say this again, that really cared about individuals that was there. If you was I was behind the wall when I had my first touch when it came to prison education. And that was teaching us about our GED getting it. And so then I didn't get mine down Lawton because I stayed in trouble, so I never had time to sit in the seat. But when I went to the federal system, only reason why I took my GED because they started saying that it's going through classification, it's going to be held against you if you didn't have a GED. Right. And then also, I said, man, look, I gotta have some type of form of education, right? So I said, let me, I'm wising up. And I had some good people that was there that really wanted it for me as well, just as, so. But on all in all, it became a warehouse, right? On all in all, and like Mike said, it became like, if you don't want to go, okay, cool, that's on you. The penalty is going to be when you kind of go up for classification when you trying to leave here. Oh, you ain't go to school. You ain't go to school. You don't work. And now the working thing, it ain't enough jobs in the BOP for everybody.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's one thing, right? And one other thing is education became a joke in prison. Right? When I knew it became a joke, because I was one of the last classes that actually got a bachelor, not a bachelor degree, associate degree. When I was in prison, before they cut the grants.
That's right.
When professors used to come into the penitentiary and teach us, now people had to go in there on their own will. I was eager to learn, so I was like, man, I need to learn something else. But they cut that grant. Brothers and sisters they was lining up in there to get these grants. They was free.
Yeah.
They took it out of there. Now they put the burden on your pockets and your family pocket to get it, but you got to do it self-taught through your class, from your cell, right?
Okay, so now we at this part where, as we do, it's called Solutions from the Yard, and we done went over a myriad of roadblocks. Let's just give an overview of what the solution is, Mike. What would you be offering as a solution? And because we was confronted with the roadblocks, and we overcame them. So, give your solution to overcoming the roadblocks to reentry.
First and foremost, far as with the background checks, I think that should be removed. Because once you come out of prison, I'm no longer in prison. So why is you holding what I did, in the past 20, 30 years or whatever down the road? Why is you still holding that against me? So it should, because you shouldn't make that a criteria.
Right.
I think that should be removed. And I truly believe that that's put in place for return citizens. You see what I'm saying? That's put in place there for that. And like we discussed before about the housing situation in the SPDAT. We discussed that before, man. The SPDAT for us, especially guys that did 20 and plus years, the SPDAT should be done while we still in prison. You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, some of us do suffer from PTSD from being in those penitentiaries. So, some of these things that, I think, should be conducted while we in prison. The background checks, eliminate that. And also, as far as with the housing, that should be taken for us while we in prison.
Dietrich, as we close out.
My solution is, you want me to say something?
Yes, sir.
My solution is just bring back the humanity to the prisons. Bring back the caring of individuals, and then just bring back the love. And I ain't saying you got to love people that's in prison or none of that. I'm just saying bring back the humanity of it,
that's right.
And make it more about uplifting and empowering, because these same people, y'all gonna have to let them back out to y'all society, right? So if you care about them coming back out to your society, being productive, care about them while they inside, and when you give them the right resources and tools to be successful when they do come out, everything will be okay. You can't penny pitch it or try to make it fit your way or not. If you want individuals to be successful, you got to bring humanity, and meaning, man, people got to start about caring about the individuals that's inside these walls.
There you have it. Solutions from the Yard. Bring back the humanity.
Yes.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Solutions from the Yard. This podcast is presented by Voices for a Second Chance, a comprehensive reentry program that provides culturally appropriate, trauma-informed, gender-specific, and peer-based services. For more information, go to info@vscdc.org or visit our website at www.vscdc.org.